Chasers Podcast. Coming to you live and direct with your host and your moderator, Kevin L. Warren. This is a real sports podcast for real fans.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening, everybody? Happy Sunday to you. I hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday morning. It's the Sports Chasers Podcast. It's the Gridiron Rundown, the College Football Edition. It's week 2. Good morning, Dan. How are you today? It's just me and Dan this morning. How's it going, bro?
It's going real good, but unfortunately, this is going to be a very short episode because the FCC has ruled I'm ineligible to participate today due to a 2-time transfer from Sports Chasers regular to fourth and short. Now I moved to Gridiron Sunday, college football, and they said I can't participate.
That's funny. That's funny, Dan. Man, like I said, this is a little short thing that we're doing here, trying to do here and talk about college football, give it to you about college football. Hey, let's get into it. Dan, you got your Pitt hat on. Sorry, Pitt lost last night. Is that correct? Sorry, guy. Sorry.
Hey, it is what it is. It's a 10-year cycle with Pitt.
Yeah, 10-year cycle.
Once in a blue moon, we get a quarterback.
Once in a blue moon.
Hey, look how long it took after Marino to get when we got Pickett. I mean, granted, we had some decent ones in between, but really.
Oh, let me just run down some of the scores real quick from yesterday's notable games. UNC beat App State 40-34. Georgia beat Ball State 46-3. Penn State, they beat Delaware 63-7. Notre Dame beat North Carolina 45-24. Colorado defeated Nebraska 36-14. Kansas State beat Troy. Baylor, Utah defeated Baylor. Ohio State beat their longtime nemesis, Youngstown. Woohoo!
Youngstown State. Don't you forget it.
Excuse me. Clemson handled Charleston Southern. Mississippi handled Tulane. Michigan beat UNLV. Miami defeated Texas A&M 48-33. Duke beat Lafayette. Washington defeated Tulsa. Tennessee defeated who's that? I can't see right here. I'll get back to them. Austin P 30-13. A lot of cupcake games. Hey, all you Alabama fans, where you at? Holla at me, because y'all got defeated by Texas. They said this is the first time since 1902 that Texas beat Alabama in Alabama. So they waited 100 plus years to go back to Alabama to defeat them. So we'll talk. Well, Dan, let's just start with that game. What are your thoughts on Texas and Alabama, the mighty Alabama, the mighty SEC?
I love it. The clowns, they finally, hey, isn't Texas moving to the SEC?
Yes.
Oh boy, we get to watch this like every other year then. This will be real good. All I can say is, there's like Bama gets the recruits, they get the 5 stars, just like all these other big schools, and Texas is, probably one of the bigger schools in Texas as far as recruitment. I mean, they got Manning's kid, but to see them lose was, I mean, I like Saban, and I like Alabama, but I thought last year, Texas would have beat them if Ewers didn't get hurt. I think it was his ribs. I just remember he got flattened on a sack and landed on his back, and he couldn't throw. But they were going to win that game. But to see him play the whole game, it was good to see. And I like I said, I enjoy it when the mighty fall. When they actually don't play cupcakes, they actually play teams.
Yeah. So if you didn't see the game, shout out to the Texas quarterback, Quentin Ewers. He was 24 of 38, 349 yards, 3 TDs. He didn't turn the ball over. Unlike which is key. Can't throw the ball to the other team, right? And for Alabama, Milroe was 14 of 27, 255 yards. He did turn the ball over twice. So the Longhorns, who was 11, and Alabama, who was number 3. When the AP poll comes out tomorrow, that's the only thing I follow is the AP poll. Whatever about the coaches poll. The AP poll comes out tomorrow. We should see Texas leapfrogging in front of Alabama. So your thoughts on that, Dan, and the AP poll?
Do you we always talk about, well, maybe not on a show or anything, but I know we talk about this on phone calls, text. It's, if this was at the end of the year, do you think that, Alabama falls that much so they can keep them in the title game, in the playoffs? But since, and that's a good thing for Alabama. At least this was like one of the first couple games of the year.
Right.
Because, by the end of the, the season, people probably not remember them losing this game, and keeping them in. I think the most impressive thing with Texas, though, is they kept Ewers pretty much unscathed. Like, he didn't get sacked at all.
Nope. Not at all.
No interceptions, no sacks. And then, you turn around and you look what happened to Milroe. He had the 2 interceptions and 5 sacks. So, shout out to Texas defense. They played well. They kind of kept them under wraps because, hell, both running backs for Bama, 12, was it McClellan? 12 rushes for 45 yards. And, the quarterback had 15 rushes for 44 yards. So they did a good job keeping them from running the football, because that's usually, a Bama thing. They got all them big boys up front and they just power the ball down your throat.
Power the ball, right.
But, like I said, shout out to the Texas Longhorns defense and their coordinator. They kind of shut that down. That should be every week. We should have games like this every week. I hate these cupcake games.
You heard it right here. And you should hate these cupcake games too. You facing no disrespect to William and Mary, but William and Mary should not be playing I just don't understand it, man. I just don't understand it.
But like even like the A&M playing Miami.
Right.
That's a good game. I'm trying to think who, some of these teams, it was just like, really? Like Tennessee playing Austin Peay. No offense to Austin Peay, but really? I mean, the Austin Peay Governors. That does not sound like a football team to me.
Not at all. They don't care, though.
That's the debate team.
They just don't care. And I hope, with the advent of the new super conference thing, there won't be any room for guys to play the community college anymore.
Oh, I hope so. I absolutely hope so.
Because
yeah,
right. You don't need all your conference games to, just make it there, right? Like you won't be able to play a bad school because it will really mark against you, so,
Yeah, because that's my thing is if you got 20 teams in a freaking conference and you play 11 games, technically 11 games is your season, and then you got your playoffs or whatever. Well, guess what? At least nine of those got to be conference foes.
Yeah.
If you break it up like they have been, like, you got the East and the West divisions of each of these conferences, or, whatever they call them, then, you're 1 of 10. That means you play 9 conference games in theory. And then that gives you your 2 games. But to be honest, I'd rather see him play 2 teams in the opposite conference or whatever, and then play everybody in theirs, or however they're going to do it.
Yeah, I just don't. Dan, I know you're right. There's no other way to do it, Dan, than what you say. Like, right, you won't be able to play, Northwest, East Minnesota anymore, because you got to play Minnesota. If you're in the Big 10 or 12 or Big 20 or whatever they become, you're going to have to play all the schools, in your eastern side, and then play 2 or 3 of the schools on the west in your conference.
In theory.
And you won't have any games left, because I don't understand and I think it's probably Darryl that said this yesterday to me. If you want to help a little school so much, just donate $1 million to them. We got to play the game.
And my point to that, the no cupcake games, that's going to hurt these other schools because they're getting paid millions of dollars to travel to play these teams.
Hey, man, just give them the money. Make a donation. Because some of these schools, it's only $1 million. It's not like it's, $30 million. You know who makes the $30 million? The home school from the Frank's hot dogs, beers at the game when they beat,
What's the matter, you?
Yeah, when you play What's the Matter You? Yeah, but the reality is when you do that, that's what's, who makes the money? Kevin, because he's home. It's his beer. It's his Frank's. Yeah, I gave you $1 million, Dan, but I'm making $20 million because it's the first game of the year. Everybody's excited, and I got the stands filled to the rafters as we lay your players out on the field. And they're just not getting up. And we win the game running away. So it's a fucking joke. Excuse my French. This is the last time I'm gonna curse this thing, but it's a bad joke too.
All right,
But
so what's your thoughts on Alabama and Texas last night, real quick? That's where we was at, and then we'll go on to the next game.
it kind of is what it is. They're both top 10 teams. I think they were ranked. I don't think it hurts Alabama as much, to lose early than late, but they're gonna have to win every game going forward convincingly. Because people will always bring this up. It wasn't a horrible, horrible loss, but it was a loss. But again, the reality is they're going to have to whoop everybody else in the SEC this season, period. Like there's nothing else that can happen. Nothing else comes out of this other than that. They have to win every game. And if they don't, they're out. And Saban has to figure out a way to do something else.
True. Okay. Let's go on to our next game. Nebraska went to Colorado and they lost to the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime 36-14. That game on yesterday, Nebraska started off, trying to play ball control and play defense. And the young quarterback, what's his name here? Sims, he kept on turning the ball over. He kept on fumbling the ball. He threw an interception, but he had trouble underneath the snap, man. So Colorado, they finally got it clicking and got it going. Was up 13-0, and then 20-7, and then that was it. Nebraska couldn't overcome, man. DA, what's your thoughts on Colorado and Nebraska, sir?
Nebraska's, I didn't think they'd win anyway. They're a young team. I think much like Coach Prime in Colorado, Nebraska, I think, had 60 new players on their team. They have 60 new players, but Rule is doing it different than Prime. So Rule is doing it through freshmen. He has a ton of freshmen on this team. He has they said he has most of his team are freshmen. So he's figuring that if he can get kids in 3 years, they'll be a good team. So my thing is, you mark my words, in 2 or 3 years, that team will be title contenders if everything goes right. Because they got, a lot of good kids in there under this first class. Now, with the NIL, you may lose 60 kids, at the end of this year if those kids don't want to be there, or those kids are not really into your coaching or style or whatever you're doing over there, Matt Rule. Because I'm not a huge Matt Rule super believer, but that
you don't believe
he's doing not Matt Rule, no. And that has to do more with the Panthers in Carolina than anything else. But
I think D-Dep said that in the comments. Yes.
Yeah. So but his history is Temple was 2-something when he got there. It was a bad team when he got there. First year there, he won 2 games. Next year, I think he took Temple to the championship or whatever division league that is. With Baylor, first year, two games, and then he got, the next year he did pretty good. So we'll see what happens this year, but Nebraska is not having 2 games. They're not going to do that. So he's only 2 now. So I think it's a situation where you just have to think that he will get those kids coached up and play a little better. Now on to Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes.
Mm-hmm.
Better team.
Absolutely.
Team.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Better game plan. They spreaded them out, and then they just attacked all the weak points.
But let me not push back. But at first, Nebraska had the defense on. They absolutely did. And then, but them turning the ball over in Colorado's in their own, Nebraska turning the ball over in their own field of play, that really killed them. Go ahead.
Yes. And you know what? And I'm going to let Dan go on this, and this goes back to the point I made last week about Colorado having a bunch of NFL players and coaches working with their kids. That means they do NFL things on the field. And when I say do NFL things on the field, I mean peanut punch. For those that don't know, I think it was Peanut Tillman, Chicago Bears, years ago, came up with something he did when he tackled people, and that was to punch the ball out of the opposing team's hands, or try to do something at the end of every tackle to separate the player from the ball. That's a professional football thing. And I was just thinking, and I could be wrong, we got professional football coaches. Maybe they're teaching these kids, whenever you tackle
ball.
The ball. Yeah, punch the ball. Tackle the ball, not the man. Separate the ball from the other guy so we can get the ball back. And that's what it looked like yesterday, because oh my God, I'm figuring Nebraska works on it. That they work on ball security, right? But it just didn't seem to work. Interceptions are one thing, but fumbles are another. So I saw a few where he just didn't get the ball. Him and the center had a bad exchange. But I think maybe that's part of it too, is that, the defense of the Colorado Buffaloes was playing like a pro defense in a lot of ways that people may not understand or see. That's what I got. What you got, Danny?
It's funny you say that 60% of, Nebraska is new players, where Deion's team is 75% players from the portal. And to that end, you could see Colorado's a little bit ahead of the scale on this, but you could see where the continuity really isn't there with Nebraska. And you could see that in the turnovers that they had with the quarterback in the center. I don't know who developed this play, but the dude in motion cost them 2 turn. Well, the first one hit the guy. I think it was 44. I forget his name. It was some big, long name. But the center snapped the ball, hit him right in the hip, and he happened to fall on top of the ball. It was like a 2-yard loss. And then later in the game, they ran the same exact type of play where the guy was in motion, and the center just missed hitting him again. But that kind of screened Sims, I think is the quarterback, like screened his eyes, and like the ball hit him in the hands, and he didn't even realize it was there that quick. And that's where the dude, I think Dominic, come in and just one-handed it and got like a couple yards on the turnover. Like really, Nebraska self-imposed, infliction of, of their, why they lost the game was, bad turnovers. But at the same token, Colorado played well enough defensively. They gave up a couple, decent sized runs, but for the most part, they were able to control, the line of scrimmage, because that was the biggest thing. All these clowns, the announcers were talking about was like, oh, they're not good at the run defense. They're not good at the run defense. I was like, could have fooled me. That Dominic kid had a hell of a game. He was in the backfield. Was it the one run? He absolutely blew the kid up in the backfield, the running back. I mean, he didn't have to tackle. He didn't have to wrap his arms up. He hit him so hard he depleted him. I was like, yeah, that's how you hit. But Nebraska's defense, I think they had a good game plan. when they first came in, like I said, if it wasn't for the turnovers, they wouldn't have had 10 points because that's, pretty much how they got their points. But they did, like, they sacked Sador, 4 times in the first half?
4 times in the first half, 3 times in the second half. Yeah, they was getting at him, and I want to say they had like 9 or 8 hurries on him in the first half. They was getting at him.
Yeah, and what they did is they confused the scheme up where they would bring pressure, and get to him, but then they would also lay off him. They'd only rush 3 and drop 8. And I know the one play, like, you could see they were like, okay, yeah, we got the guy in the slot. We're just going to run him out, 5-6 yards to the sideline. We're going to hit him. And as soon as he hiked the ball, the linebacker just basically moved 4 or 5 steps to the left or the sideline, right in the passing lane. And you see him like, oh, shit. And boom.
Yeah.
Sacked him. and by halftime, they kind of figured it out and were able to move the ball a lot better. But for the majority of the first half, they had Colorado confused on offense.
Yeah. And it's funny. I want to see the adjustments for next week, right? Because this week, what everyone said was not good, right? So, the Colorado team first week, everyone talked about their defense.
Right.
And this week, their defense played a little bit better. I'm not going to say a ton better because, like you said, there was a lot of self-imposed stuff with Nebraska.
Yes.
This week, I think the offensive line for Colorado got kind of exposed in a lot of ways. 7 sacks, and some were pressure, and some were not. Like Dan said, they weren't really pressure. Shador just got confused because they would rush 3, drop 8, but one of the 3 would get to him because he's back there so long, not seeing a receiver. So I think next week they'll get better. And Michael Bristow, I don't know who you are, man, but thank you, brother, because I believe that the OC has to get better at calling the plays next week to get him out of that trouble.
I had to laugh. He had that scramble, and I bet you he ran 150 yards.
Oh yeah, didn't get a yard though.
It lost 2 yards.
Yeah, he was running around the back. The
backyard.
Like backyard football.
Shout out to my main man, Michael Bristol. Mike, thank you for supporting us. Mike is always supporting us. Sometimes he'll be on the Facebook side, in the comments and on, giving us love, man. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you, bro, man, for hanging out with us on a Sunday morning. Go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna say to D-Dub's point, he says, he has to get rid of the ball. Well, the problem is the scheme that they were running made it look like somebody was open. And as soon as he went back and looked at the guy, they slid somebody in front of him. So, like I said, Nebraska had a really good game plan to confuse the offense and make them think that there was things that were there that weren't.
Correct.
And he did, granted, yes, he took sacks, but I'd rather him do that than do what Sims did and try to throw the ball to the sideline and have the guy undercut it, for an interception. He played smart. He had the one bad, what was it? He threw it out of bounds. It wasn't outside the tackle box.
Yeah.
Nobody was on that side of the field. But, I'd rather him do that stuff than force the ball and turn the ball over. They always say, if you take care of the ball and you win the turnover battle, you're going to win the game, whether it's college or professional.
Yep.
That's true. Sorry, Dan.
No, I was just going to say you could see the level of coaching. That's the biggest difference, I think, in Colorado and Nebraska.
Right.
Is the coaching staff for Colorado, got Dion, former pro. They're showing them how to be pros and how to play like pros. And that, I think, is why they're ahead of the game as far as, two games in and they're 2-0. And it's basically a brand new team. Get them to gel and play like that. It plays a team. And, I think someone said in the comments, they're only going to get better.
Yep.
The more they play, the more they practice. This team, to me, I think that they're legit.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be what everybody thought they were going to be in that conference as far as being a rollover win.
All right, let's move on before we get out of here. Last 5 minutes. The other game we wanted to mention was the Miami's win against Texas A&M. Miami defeated Texas A&M 48-33 at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida, Miami Gardens, Florida to be exact. Van Dyke, the quarterback for the U, was 20 of 30, 374 yards and 5 TDs. Cristobal, the coach for the U, seems like, we said it last year. It's going to take them a year or two to get things churning. And, we even joked with them last year, the U who. And, it's, he's a real deal coach. He came from Oregon, right? I believe he came from Oregon. And he's also an alumni. So he's trying to turn this thing around. And look like here in year 2, he's going to turn around. I'll give it to DA. What's your thoughts on the University of Miami defeating Texas A&M?
Boy, Jimbo is in trouble. That's the biggest takeaway for anyone. Just know that that's an issue out there. That's an issue out there, right? Because he gets paid a lot of money. And with NIL, I think they may have spent almost the most money, right, to do what they needed to do.
And they're ranked 23rd.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That is going to be a problem for people. That we're spending this much money on NIL. You're in Texas, which is, I would say, not the hotbed of football itself, for youth football or high school football, but the money that's going to go into the NIL. Like Texas A&M is a rich school. They've got a lot of money there. So it's going to, in college football more than pro football, it comes down a lot more to the players and what the players are doing and how the players are doing it. It's a lot. It goes a lot into coaching. People always go into coaching in the college football and say that's what matters the most. So with that being said, Jimbo, it's on you, bro. Like, Cristobal is a good coach. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that he's a better coach than Jimbo Fisher, but it sure enough looked like it last night. It sure enough looked like it because there were a lack of adjustments. Your defense gave up a lot of big plays. I don't know who you got coaching defense. They weren't tackling. Dudes wanted to, try to do the hit stick, and it wasn't happening. Dudes weren't going down on Miami. And that's not to say Miami's going to be a great, great, great team.
I think they're headed in the right direction, though. We at least can say that, right?
They look great yesterday. They look great yesterday. So
today's prices ain't tomorrow's.
Ain't tomorrow's prices. So yeah, so that's what that is, man. So I give Miami their props, man. Good win.
Yeah,
good win.
Good win to the U. Shout out to you. Hey, for all those down here in South Florida, I don't want to hear nothing from you. I didn't talk about. It was a good win yesterday. All right, let's get that win and build on something else. Dan, your thoughts on Miami and Texas A&M?
I didn't see this game at all, but all I can take away from this game is apparently Texas A&M doesn't have any cornerbacks or safeties. They played all linemen and linebackers on the defense or something. That dude went off 5 touchdowns. Was it Xavier Restro? 6 catches, 126 yards. And then you had Jacoby George, 5 catches, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns. Apparently, they didn't see him on the field all day. And then was it Colby Young, 6 catches, 75 yards and a touchdown. And
those guys turned invisible, and then when they got to the end zone, they put their sight back on, and then you could see them again, and they were just standing in the end zone with the ball.
Yeah, I don't know, though. To me, it seems like, who did Texas lose to last year? Was it App that they brought in? Yeah,
I think the App State beat them last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't really have faith in A&M. I don't know why. Didn't they have Manziel too? Isn't he quarterback there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. It just seems like they find a way to lose.
Well, it's no disrespect, but even back then, it was basically Mike Williams, Johnny Manziel ran around the field and just threw the ball up, and Mike Williams caught it.
Yeah, that is a whole.
That's all. It was not pretty. It wasn't. Yeah, Jimbo is on it. I don't. I think he's in trouble, man. He should be on the hot seat. I don't know why he's not. He should be on the hot seat. So that's just what I see. On it.
Couple of things. Mike said that was my shout out. Mike Mills is in the comment. He couldn't be with us. D-Dub is also in the comments. What else he says? What he says? Shout out to. I'll put it back up here again. Shout out to his Texas Longhorns. They finally avenged the legend Colt McCoy.
Yeah, man. Shoot, boy, that game there was over as soon as Marcel Darius broke his shoulder in that game. It was like, ooh, wow, what a hit. It was like, I think he broke his shoulder. Oh gosh, I think he broke his shoulder. It was like, was that the longest yard? I think I broke his blankety blank shoulder. And that's what he did. It was
good to see Texas hook 'em.
Yeah,
as they call it.
Yeah, yes. It was like I said, man. I like anarchy in football. I'm for it. I don't college football anarchy. I don't care. I don't care if this little guy wins, as long as he keeps winning. It doesn't really matter to me. So
I'd be surprised if anybody goes undefeated this year.
No, it shouldn't.
No,
like even Georgia is probably going to lose a game.
Everybody's going to get an L, I think.
Because everybody got good players, and that's what the NIL does. Everybody has players that maybe they wouldn't have had last year.
Right. And that's what me and Dan was talking on the phone yesterday, and me and Dan was saying how the game has changed and Wells came on the show Thursday night and said that, hey, kids want to play. So now Alabama's and Georgia, you will not be able to stockpile this talent because kids now have the opportunity to go somewhere like Duke and go play. So Dabo, you want to be sanctimonious about I'm not dabbing in, I'm not no pun intended, right? No, I'm not dabbing into the transfer portal. Okay, all right, cool. That's fine.
I think
fine.
There's only one thing the NFL can do, Kev. They gotta let these kids go in 2 years instead of 3. Because what happens is it's the stockpiling, and you got to play college football for 3 years before you can go to the NFL. So if you put it down to 2 years, then schools will be able to grab guys for 2 years. You're not necessarily stockpiling. You're going to showcase a guy for 2 years, and maybe you don't have another running back on your roster, that can beat that guy out. I mean, because it can't be the Miamis of the 90s and early 2000s when you have like Walter Payton Jr., what's the guy's name? Frank Gore, and all these guys on the same team at the same time.
Right.
Everybody wanting to get some run, and you can't because you're here now. And if you transfer, you're going to end up going to a school that doesn't get seen. So you stay. But right now, if you just give a guy 2 years, right? You got to stay 2 years, and you'll get the running backs you need and whatever. So Dan will have 2 5-stars. I'll have 2 5-stars. You'll have 2 5-stars. Everybody will have good running backs on their team because, and if the running back doesn't produce in 2 years, then it's great. He'll stay there 4 years. Then you'll bring somebody else and they'll only have to sit a year before they play. That's it. I mean, I don't think kids are mad if they sit a year, but dudes are really not trying to sit 2-3 years waiting behind a dude to play.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the issue. Like, you're not going to know who's on what team.
No, you don't know now
because they're just going to, they're just going to keep flipping.
I don't know. I've given up on that. Being a fan, and this is I think Dan, that's a good statement because I think it'll hurt the whole fandom thing because people usually aren't fans of people they don't know, and it's not that they don't love the team because you'll be fans of the team. That's in college. That's what it's about because players come and go, But I think your interest in your team will change because you're in and out. You don't know who's there. It's hard to say when you don't know who's on the team.
That's like I turn on luckily, the online TV subscriber that I have, I can do like 4 games on the TV at one time.
Yes.
So I did that for the noon games, and I was turned on the NC State Notre Dame game, and Notre Dame had the ball, and I'm like, why does this guy look so damn familiar?
Wake Forest.
And I was like, oh, that's because when I was watching Kenny Pickett play Wake Forest, Hartman was their quarterback, and that's kind of the thing. And I want to say, I forget what the dude's name was, that he was at Pitt when Kenny was there, and he transferred in after he left, played 1 season, and then I think he went to Southern Cal or something. It's like these guys, like you said, they want to play, so they go to a team, and if it doesn't work out, guess what? Hasta la vista, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else.
Yes.
And they got to find listen, I don't have a problem with kids moving.
But there needs to be some kind of regulation, though. We agree? Yeah.
It has to be some guardrails because you can't do it every year because you'll have a kid in college 7 years.
Well, they already do.
There's a dude in Miami. He went 8 right there. We was talking about
There's like a dude that's like 30 years old playing like double the amount of time you're supposed to play. Like I was watching the NC State game, and I think it was a linebacker D line for NC State, 60-year senior. What the fuck?
There's a kid in Miami. He's a 7-year senior. Yes.
Well, it's like so you get your shirts right, but you can't get more than 2 grays, which means gray shirt is your hurt.
Right.
Red shirt is a red shirt. Everyone knows.
Everybody should know that. Right.
Okay. I don't think you can get. So that's 1, 2. Yeah, that's how you get the 7 years. A red, 2 grays.
Okay, I get that.
And then you can play, or because they don't have to sit out transfers anymore. They may have been, so if they're 7 or 8 years in, my guess is that maybe they did it, of course, before the transfer portal, all that stuff started last year,
right?
Where you had to sit out a year. So that doesn't count against your playing time if you have to sit out because you transferred. So I'm sure there's a bunch of ways to.
All right. So I hear what you're saying, right? And he got these guys that are 8-year seniors. So how is it that a guy, say he enrolls at NCA&T, right? They canceled the football season because of COVID. So
I remember that.
So he transfers to Kent State, doesn't play a fucking game because there is no team. Goes to Kent State, plays there. I think it was a year, maybe 2. Then he transfers to UNC.
Yeah.
2 days after he enrolls at UNC, they come up with this baloney rule about transfers. Now he's ineligible, but yet this guy is on 8-year. He's 30 years old or whatever, playing.
Yeah.
This
dude, I think they're going to get an injunction on the kid at North Carolina because too many people are upset about it. So I think North Carolina will get an injunction. Because there are too many people upset about this kid not being able to play.
It's ridiculous. They need to come up, like we talked about the last Thursday I was on, where you need to have a set standard of rules as to what and who and how people transfer in this portal.
Yes, sir.
Like if your team cancels the season, legitimate. The coaching staff gets hired at a better school and leaves, legitimate.
Yeah.
You're happy because you're sitting on the bench? No. Get better. That will curtail the, people just bouncing around the portal everywhere. There needs to be some standard and exception.
It has to be a number.
Standards and guardrails as DA.
Well, there has to be a number. It has to be a number. 2. You can transfer twice.
That was my thing. You transfer twice. You get a freebie after the first one.
Yeah.
And you get a second one. That's it.
And
unless there's an exception.
And then the other thing with that I believe wholeheartedly, and this is why it will never happen, because the players are going to want essentially the same thing the coaches get. So meaning to say that they're going to say to a coach, yo, dog, you can't bounce twice in 5 years. You got to find, whatever it is.
You got to sit out.
You got to sit out. Because the reason is that, and I know people say, oh, man, they can make their money and go here and there. It's America. Yeah, well, it's the same. The players are saying that the same thing. They're saying, why can't we go? Right? Because if Kingsbury gets a job, he's at Texas Tech, right? Kingsbury gets fired. He got fired. Let's not get it twisted. He got fired. He went to USC. He was at USC. This all happens in a year, folks. 1 year. He goes to USC, and he's the offensive coordinator. He goes, sits on Dan's couch, recruits 3 of Dan's kids to go to USC. Before the pen ink is dry, Arizona calls this man for a head coaching job in the NFL. And he leaves. So Dan's kids are stuck going to USC. The kids that went to him at Texas Tech, they're stuck there. And he's in Arizona getting a crap load of money. It's not fair.
Okay. To your point, that's just what I talked about. If your coaching staff leaves,
Yeah.
for a better job, then you can go.
Yeah.
I get that. The difference here is why the players can't do what they're doing or want to do. This isn't professional.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least that's what they say.
The coaching staff are not students. They're giving scholarships to these players, NIL money to these players that they never got before the NIL money. So, yes, there should be some restrictions of how they can go and where they can go, because this isn't professional. They are student athletes. So, yeah, you want to go, but no, you can't. You can't do it like that. That's why I say you need to put standards and regulations and rules as to what's an exception and what maybe not be an exception, and narrow it down, because they are not professional athletes. They shouldn't get the same, ability as a professional. Even the professionals can't move like that.
No, they can't.
Because that's, the scholarship is kind of like a contract. You sign on the dotted line to play here. There's got to be an exception of why you can leave.
Oh, no, Dan.
Oh, we on it, D-Dub. Let's go. Yes, student athletes, not
student athletes.
not.
But
hey,
listen,
that's the volleyball kid.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's got to go cross country to play. West Virginia's got to go play. Southern Cal.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I just don't know how it's going to happen, and because for that, and this is another thing my wife said to me. We watched the game yesterday, and we were talking about. She said, the NCAA will speak for all the coaches, right? If they come to an agreement on this, right, on the movement. Who speaks for the kids? Don't have a union. Like, they don't have a guy that they can send and say, hey, this is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Student athlete.
Yeah, I mean, even as student athlete, but they don't have a spokesperson for them to say, hey, we're good with going 2 times with Dan's rules. Hey, we like that. NCAA, what do you guys think? Because the NCAA has a chairman or something of sports, and he'll say, yeah, hey, this is what we propose. Somebody has to agree to it.
But at the end of the day, most of them are on scholarships. They are students. So whatever the rules committee and the schools agree on, that's kind of it. It's like,
which kind of sucks.
It sucks, but it's kind of like, the private business.
Yeah.
They make rules. They got to abide by the government rules, and then they make their own rules within those guidelines. Do the employees have a say in that? Most of the time, not. You got your right to work states and you got union states. If you were living in a union state, okay, you do get some say. But if not, if you want to work there, you go by those rules. So I mean, I get it. But
the only problem, like I said, it should have never got to this point, right?
No. Well, it's snowballed.
where we're at now is fraught with a lot of pitfalls. Because I just what you just said, Dan, it makes 100% sense unless you are a college player at Penn State, which is a Union State.
But
or you're in Chicago, which is a Union State. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you play for North Carolina, right to work state, they still have to figure out a way to have a spokesman to agree upon something from both sides. Because that rules committee, evidently, they're not any good at anything because they're the reason we're here.
100%. 100%. We're going to probably have to revisit this on Thursday. But yes, the Tex Walker thing is absolutely a fascinating thing. And like DA say, an injunction will probably commence because too many people are making a big stink about it. And rightfully so. Yeah, because of how it went down. It's absolutely stupid. But that's another thing in the NCAA, which will probably be no longer here in a couple of years. And that's just what it is. Because of how the bureaucracy of the NCAA, it's atrocious to me, in my opinion. But man, this was good. Hey, we're gonna attempt to do this every Sunday morning. Coming to you talking college football. The 3 or 4 or 5 games. That means that was good. We will not be talking about some of the cupcake games. And hey. College football's here. Hey, all you NFL fans, NFL's here today too. So, in the East, it's almost 11 o'clock. Game time kickoffs started at 1 o'clock. So, hey, enjoy the NFL today. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't forget, 4th and Short.
Live
at you tomorrow.
Dan with the plug. My main man, Dan. Yes, don't forget 4th and Short tomorrow at 9 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time for those. Want to wake up? We're going to talk about the 5 best games that went on today. So, hey, all you Lion believers, do you believe in the Lions? Where's DW at? Nah.
Played a good game. Man.
Yeah, they played a good game, man.
They played a good game. Not a great game. They played a good game, and we'll see what Kansas City has to offer. Kansas City is going to be Kansas City.
Yeah.
Did they sign Chris yet?
Yeah. No, he is still sitting. So
they're gonna struggle for a while.
Yeah,
that defense absolutely needs him.
Yeah. Obviously, Dan, the offense needs you at wide receiver. I think you need to go try out, man.
Mike Williams is out there though. So Mike Williams said he wanted to go there, but I don't know what happened with that. If they haven't tried or to make the move, or I don't know what Tampa Bay wants for him, but Mike Williams did say he wanted to go to Kansas City. That was one of his teams. So,
yep.
All I know is they need to do what they did in the Replacements movie.
No, Dan.
Put that stick on Tony's hand. Dude, I don't know. I still don't know if he can catch the ball.
Yeah, no, he's right. He's in his house with his wife throwing them patterns right now, trying to catch the ball. So we'll see what happens.
They need to get one of the machines that you just put the football in. And it shoots.
He has one in every room of his house. He goes take a shit.
He rolls out of bed. He rolls out of bed, and all of a sudden he stands up and boom.
Yeah.
Every room he walks in, the ball gets fired at him.
Goes to sit down on the toilet, catch it.
Speaking of off the rails, make sure you like, click, and subscribe to our channel, please. All those that are listening on the podcast side, make sure you go to Apple and Spotify. Give us that 5-star review. And hey, so we can jack up the algorithm and get this going. If you love this content, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Also, make sure you donate to us. We also here on the YouTube channel. You can also do super chats. So do us a favor, donate to us with the super chat, and we definitely appreciate it. Like Dan said, remember 4th and Shorts tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Also check us out on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. for our long show, man. But on behalf of myself, I'm Kevin Warren, your host and moderator. For Dan, the hockey dude, for DA in the house this morning, for D-Dub and Mike Mills in the comments, and the angry one, James Eric. This is the Sports Chasers podcast. Oh, shout out to everybody who was watching this morning. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you this morning, man. And hey, y'all have a great Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday. The NFL is back. We'll holler at you. Be good. Peace.